Hi there, welcome back to On the Flip Side. My name is Adam Shawalker, your host. Today we are going to be covering the fourth record from Big Business, Battlefields Forever. Formed mainly of Melvin's alumni Cody Willis and Jared Warren, Big Business have been active since 2004 with a small number of other musicians. This band has mainly been a duo for the majority of its existence. Just to get this out of the way, I have really been trying my hardest to cover albums that I own personally, but as time goes on, I find that it's a bit more difficult to really branch out and cover more bands for you guys, as the cost of records can eat away a budget that I can't always justify at the moment. So for the sake of quality on this channel, from this point on, I cannot promise that I will always be covering albums that I own personally on vinyl. The point of this channel to me is to celebrate music with a critical ear and not necessarily to worship one format or the other. With that being said, on to the review. The first track on the record is Chump Chance. This song kicks off with a sporadic drum beat and throaty vocals with this kind of upward lilt on the tempo. It's a really odd upbeat track with some really bizarre guitar and bass work. Exactly what you would expect coming from guys who have worked with the Melvins. Not too much more to say about this one. I mean, it's a fairly short song, but it does absolutely kick up the energy for this listen, and it's a pretty good start. Track 2 is No Vowels. This one has some really great guitar work and reminds me a lot of like the early work from like A Perfect Circle, but with like much denser, fuzz-heavy delivery. Really heavy punching riffs fill the mix with vocals that burn over top of the chaos. The drums are unrelenting and heavy and hold everything together in a tightly packed, explosive package. The bridge segment of this track flows really nicely too. There's an element of grace in the noise here that almost feels like a gentle touch, like there's some sensitivity here that kind of flows into the delivery of the vocals and cascades through the finishing guitar solo. Track 3 is Battlefields. Listening to this song kind of gives me goosebumps a bit, because this is kind of a sound that I don't think has necessarily clicked like this before for me. Not that this is something that I wouldn't have enjoyed earlier or something like that, but like the progression here and the tone of this song really got me a bit. I think it's just something in the play between the vocals and the guitar work that really draws me in and kind of pulls off this exciting element. Also, the guitar solo here is juicy and extra thick. Great production work. Track 4 is Trees. As Battlefields trails off, you get kind of this low, continued track with a low hum that builds up for this really tense intro into a drop of drums and guitar. This is really diving deep into sludge metal here for the intro. Once the beat gets going, though, you get some more ferocious drum work that dances with the bass guitar and a really excellent back and forth with this kind of guitar accent that kind of helps nudge along the track and during the still moments on this song. This is absolutely a highlight track for me. When I did not think the bar could have been raised any higher, they absolutely went in and just topped themselves immediately. The intensity of this song rips through every moment and demands the focus of the listener. Fantastic track. Track 5 is Aurum. This is the shortest track on the record at a brief minute and 30 seconds long. It's kind of like an interlude bass solo track that also doubles as an intro track for the next song. Track 6 is Doomsday Today. This one maintains the momentum from the last song with even more densely packed fuzz and cascading drum work, though I can't help but think that maybe the intro track should have just been connected to this song. It doesn't really lose anything without it, but I think that it stands to gain everything with that if you were to sort of actually link the two on the same track. I also feel like this is kind of a moment where they lose me a little bit. By no means is this a bad track, but most of the tricks that they've pulled out of their sleeves on earlier songs have kind of been done at this point, so a lot of this song is fairly expected. There's not a ton here that's catching me off guard. It still jams pretty hard and has a lot of big moments and roaring vocals and bass work, but it seems like some of the fat kind of could have been trimmed here to maybe build on that intro a little bit more. Track 7 is Heavy Shoes. This song starts leaning into a sound that is very heavily reminiscent of modern metal bands and kind of a little bit cliche, though not necessarily to the detriment of this track. I'm getting a lot of Mastodon vibes from this track, maybe a little hint of some Queens of the Stone Age, but this track does hold my attention for the most part. It just has some very glaring parallels that can be drawn in certain segments. By no means, though, is this a weak track. Track 8 is Our Mutant. Right out of the gate, this is a relatively fast and heavy track with no time to waste, with a 2-minute runtime. The riffing on this song is grade A material. I do really like the no bullshit approach on this track a lot. It's a quick listen that I think needs a second listen to really process, but it is pretty excellent. Track 9 is Lonely Lyle. The final song on the album is a mammoth of a track, clocking in at about 9 minutes long with a very slow progression. The vocals and lyrics on this song are brilliant with some of the best modern metal writing I've heard. This song is like a ship careening into a maelstrom from the calm before the storm all the way into the maw of the waves. Speaking of waves, though, the soundscape on this track absolutely hits like waves of all but tangible tension that is expertly crafted for this listening experience. If there's any song here that is a necessary listen on this record, I believe it is this track. They really saved the best for last with this song. As for final thoughts on this record, I've been slowly kind of diving deeper into sludge metal and doom metal over the past few years, and a couple of years ago I saw these guys open for Sleep, and they really caught my attention then, and it wasn't until recently that I'd actually remembered having seen them and thinking they were really good, I should check them out. And I actually started listening to more of their music recently, and these guys, really excellent players and showmen, and really know how to write a good, compelling album. The songs here don't all necessarily land perfectly, but I would say that this experience is worth a listen. I'd say this one is a solid 8. Check it out. Let me know what you all think in the comments below. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all so much for keeping up with the channel. If you like this video, please consider subscribing and drop a like. As always, more content to come, and I will see you all on the flip side.